Cancer ascendant, Cancer rising. Welcome, this is G. This is your 2021 walkthrough. We're going to take a look at the astrology. Whoa, let's get the flames out. The location of where the eclipse happened in your life. What do they mean? Where in your life do they happen? Like what areas of your life will be affected? January 2021 energies, because big things happening and we have more than 2 or 3 planets making major changes. Some are changing signs and some are standing still. They're all about shocks and surprises. Let's take a deep dive. Let's go hand in hand together. Let's walk side by side through your energetic weather. All right, so Cancer. The November 30th eclipse was a North Node eclipse, where we're headed, which means it's a new beginning, something new coming into your life. Now, it was a full moon, all right? We had a big full moon at the end of November. A full moon represents a culmination of emotions, okay? And being in the sign of Gemini, this tells us the meanings, like what does that mean, okay? It gives us the significance. Well, Gemini represents people that you deal with day to day, all right? It's neighbors, all right? It's people who could be siblings, sibling energy, or coworker energy. Depending upon what age you are. Some of us, we're not in school. We're not in school at all. So does that mean I don't have anybody? No, like if you work, these could be your coworkers, right? Or if you're at home, it's the people that are in your home, whether they're your blood siblings or not. Right? And what about the neighbors out back, right? This is them too. But this is also your digital neighbors, because the sign of Gemini represents social media. Okay? So when we analyze it like that, we get a better understanding. Okay, those are the who in my life. What about the what does it mean? Well, Gemini energy is thinking and talking and communication. So it's how you think, how you talk, how you communicate, how you relate. Now, Cancer, this kind of, all this energy that I'm talking about, this relating and communicating and neighbors and siblings. Now, remember, Gemini energy is also the business person, right? It's the merchant, it's trade, it's barter. It's, hey, I know how to do this. If I can do this for you, will you do this for me, right? It's barter and trading. And Gemini takes care of and keeps track of the information and the tallies, right? That's Gemini's job. Mercury is its ruler, okay? So that last eclipse, we had Mercury being the ruler of the eclipse. And so we can't help but really see on a very global, on a macro level, how our thoughts, like what's happening with our thinking, right? Because we're in the midst of a pandemic. And for many, life has been tragic. But for others, it's been beautiful. For others, they've had tons of blessings. And for others, they've made a buttload of money. For others, they haven't even been touched. They haven't known anybody who's been affected by the ugly bug, right? So for it's been some extreme differences for many. And so thinking, the way we think right now, right? And if you're in the United States, wow, right? The recent election and just everything, the media, right? That's the sign of Gemini, media. So it's news, newspapers, radio, and now social media, getting our information digitally and quickly. It's an air sign, right? Gemini is an air sign. So everything with talking, relating, and communicating and sibling energy, Cancer energy, this is in your 12th house. So this is a rather elusive placement. It's elusive thinking, because the 12th house is really more of a dream state. It's my subconscious, or it's when I am asleep. That's why Cancers typically can be super creative. And this, remember now, this is Cancer ascendant. I had someone ask, hey, wait a minute, is this for my Cancer birthday energy, or what is this? This is based on your birth time, your birth date, your birth city, your birth state, what country you were born. It was based on your birth location and your birth time, okay? Now, the birth date is part of that recipe. And all of that makes up your ascendant or your rising sign. They mean the same thing. Ascendant and rising are one and the same. And this is for a Cancer ascendant, Cancer rising. However, if you're a Cancer sun or a Cancer moon, there are things that you can listen in on for this, and it will still apply. The difference is when we talk about the rising signs, it is so that we can accurately talk about the timing of events in your life. The Gemini energy in the 12th house gives a very, because it's this Piscean energy, it's very much, music, and, it's the non-tangible world, right? It's elusive, right? It's things that you can sense, that you can hear, that you can visually see and feel, but you may not be able to actually touch them because the 12th house is non-tangible, right? Meaning it's like water. I ask you to hold out your hand. Here, hold this water for me. And what am I doing? I'm holding a hose and I'm shooting water at you and I'm saying, hold this water for me. I'm not handing you the hose though, right? It literally needs a vessel in which to channel through. And so you may have had wonderful dreams. You may have wonderful dreams, but Gemini energy is about that relating, the talking, and the communicating, and information coming through. So you may find that you have dreams where it's like, do you get downloads? Have you met people in your dreams? Depending upon who you are, there can be a lot of different ways this works out. Being about communication, because it's Mercury, and Mercury is the bringer of information and getting information in your dreams. I'd be dream journaling, right? I'd be pulling out my notebook or grabbing my phone and texting myself, or somehow keeping track, or grabbing the little recorder and speaking into it. I would somehow be doing some of that, right? That's just me though. That's not everybody. Everybody's not into something like that. The eclipse happening there, meaning a change in the subconscious, okay? Your subconscious, the way you talk and communicate. There's ways in which you talk to people, even though this is the house of dreams, but there's a subconscious thing occurring within you, which means you're not aware of it. So as I'm speaking about it, it's like, okay, what are you talking about, right? It's completely evading you. It's like, I'm not getting what you're saying. This is very abstract. And it is, that's the 12th house. It's abstract thoughts, because you have Gemini there. Abstract communication, you have Gemini there. Right? I explained all the Gemini energy. And so having that there, okay, this could be a great place for a writer, right? Because the information that comes through is very idealistic. It could be, I can maybe write movies, write books, maybe even write music, right? The ability to hear very clearly. Your information may come through in sound. Figuring all that out for you, right? And understanding if you have anything there. You may or you may not have a planet there. And if you don't, then all the things I'm saying, you may be like, okay, so what does this mean? Well, basically it's going to be a change in your subconscious ways of talking and thinking and communicating and relating. If you're not aware of it, it's really hard to be aware of something you're not aware of. But normally what an eclipse will do is it'll make a change. And that change means if it was something you were unaware of, you may become aware of it. Because this eclipse point at 9 degrees and having a full moon there might have been a surprise that you had in your life, okay? There might have been an elevation of emotions and a communication that occurred, all right? Might have been a communication that occurred through somebody on the internet or social media. And normally it's a closure and an ending. But it's a closure and an ending because being with the North Node, these people or this experience that you've already done, that you've already mastered, that you've already worked with, that you already got the t-shirt on, it's not part of where you're headed. It's not part of your future. And so there's like a completion, so to speak, a completion and a letting go and okay, I'm done with that. And I'm moving on and I'm making plans for my future. And those future plans might be a little elusive at times. So again, pay attention to your dreams, all right? Your 6th house is your health. 6th house is health routines, work routines, hygiene routines. Now, we can talk about hygiene now in a very different way. Before it was like, okay, hygiene. So what do you mean? Like I'm not brushing my teeth? Hygiene, what? You need to take a shower? Hygiene, what? Should I make sure I'm wearing deodorant? Now when we talk about hygiene in the year of 2020, all that comes to mind is, I better make sure I wash my hands, sanitizing every darn thing. And so this is in your 6th house, right? The 6th house, health routines, hygiene routines, work routines. But there's something about it where you're constantly thinking about your future. You're constantly, because you've got Sagittarian energy there. So there is this, if I'm working here because I know it's going to get me to here. There's this whole, it's kind of like a ladder process where you're climbing, but you're constantly thinking about your future. You're like, okay, doing this job, how is this job going to help me to get my job that I really want, right? And so there's that thinking that goes on, but it's about the health habits, okay? And having Sagittarius energy in this placement means it goes big, right? Sagittarian energy, it's Jupiter as its ruler, so it wants to, it's like the more the better, right? And so that might mean that you have lots of little jobs, lots of little projects that you do, constantly working on different projects. And the more the better, right? Because then it means possibly multiple avenue streams of income, right? Like not just one pot of gold, you've got multiple little nuggets of gold all around that feed you, that you get income from. Because it's Sagittarian energy, we have to talk about all the Sagittarian keywords, and there's a lot of them. And so you have to figure out which one applies to your life, all right? We have to talk about in general ways because you have free will. So let me talk about Sagittarius. First of all, it's the half man, half horse. Right? So we equate Sagittarian not just as the arrow, because it is a human, I should say it's a being that has this half human top half, and the rest of it is a horse on the bottom half, right? So it can travel long distances. It has the endurance to go for long journeys. It likes to go on quests. It likes to seek. It likes to travel. And a lot of the traveling can have to do with the air, right? Because then we pull in that arrow. So it travels along the earth, but at the same time, it has the ability to take to the air and travel, right? It's got that arrow, and that's what the arrow comes into play. It's not just about traveling, though. It can be thinking about the future. It's a very futuristic sign. It has the ability to see the big picture. It doesn't get lost and focus only on the little itty bitty trees. It can see the entire forest. It can see everything far in advance and out before it. You have this when it comes to work and how you serve those that you care about. Remember, this has to do with your health as well. And this is important because when we think about pandemic energy, right? Hello, right? Health is a big deal. At 27 degrees of Sagittarius energy is the galactic center. And likely this is going to be in your 6th house as well, because that's where Sagittarian energy is for you. Wherever the galactic center is in someone's life, there's a new beginning coming. If you want me to take a quick free look, all you got to do is comment your stuff below and I'll take a quick free look. If you want, I can get the chart, your chart, into your hands. Comment your stuff below. South Node solar eclipse. So even though there's a new beginning, there's also a letting go. There's also a belief that we're letting go. And I say belief because that's the sign of Sag. It's our beliefs and it's our opinions, all right? Our opinion about something, our opinion about work, Cancer ascendant. Your opinion about a work routine, about a health routine, a habit, a daily routine. Your opinion and your belief about something like that. And you either, well, yes, it's a let go, definitely, a big letting go, because the South Node is here. All you need to know is it's in your 6th house. Again, 6th house is your work, your job, your daily job routines, your daily health habits, your daily health routines. It is also domestic pets, I might add, your domesticated pets, all right? Pets that you have around. So maybe you're a horse person, right? Maybe you're going to have work doing things that have to do with, like I have a good friend. We had done a reading for her a while back, and there was, she had some of this Sagittarius energy in that location. And it was like, wow, you're either going to be traveling for work, or maybe you're going to be doing work and shipping your work out. You've got Sagittarian energy, so it's like there's this horse energy there. Maybe it's working with animals, maybe not. Maybe you'll be, it felt like doing work and then shipping it back to somebody. This was really interesting. What it turned out, her work, I don't know if she does her work. She's a seamstress. And so she does work, I don't know all the terms for, the gear that you wear when you have horses, and like the people who actually do shows and stuff, like all that professional stuff and horsery, whatever that is. I don't know the lingo. Forgive me. If you know it, comment below and teach me. Be my teacher. And that's another Sagittarian thing. Be the teacher. She had been in contact to give feedback and updates, which we love, that there was this new line of work that came along, which we knew was coming, and she knew that because we shared that with her. But it ended up being doing the seamstress work for a company where they supplied the uniforms for riders. And so that's what she is. That's what she does. She custom designs their uniforms. She custom designs their whatever that's called. I'll just use the word uniform for riding a horse. And so I don't know if she ships them out to them. I don't know if she has to get in her car and drive a far way to deliver them. Likely not. I don't know how that works, but it's for people who ride horses. And I just had to share that because it's so relevant with Cancer ascendant, Cancer rising. It's really relevant. You've got Sag in the 6th house. But it doesn't mean you have to be a seamstress, okay? Although, you know, that's being very creative using the Gemini energy, right? When I talked about this in the beginning, hands, Gemini energy, the 12th house and dreams, being very creative. That is that, right? That's finding a way to be creative with thoughts and ideas and how to manifest and make something out of it and using the hands. Again, the hands can be talking digitally and speaking, but there's this, because it's in that 12th house, it's very creative and finding a way to allow, to channel it and to express it. And that's what I was saying earlier about the garden hose and the water and having the ability to channel something that comes through, but the water was being channeled, was being held in the garden hose, right? And how do you contain something that you can't hold? How do you channel it, right? You have to give it something to channel through. And our physical body is just that. And so it channels out of the hands, and then you channel that energy into a material thing. You let me know, because I learn more when you give me feedback, and that's why your feedback in the comments below are so doubly important. It's not just because it helps the YouTube channel, the Allastrology, which it does. You know, for the higher ups at YouTube, it goes a very long way with them. You know, to them, that means, oh, wow, this channel's doing something right. Every thumb matters, and it does. But at the same time, when you give me feedback, when you talk to me and tell me and share with me events that you've gone through, I learn so much more. And the more I learn, the more I can share, right? And then that helps others. And the more I can learn, the better I become. And the better tool I become for that which is supposed to come and flow through and come out of me. And that is my goal, right? And to not keep it contained, but to let it flow. Let it flow, let it flow, let it flow. So let's go to January for you. What we're going to talk about is the 5th of January. All right, there's a couple of dates actually. We get to the January 5th and we have Mars moving on January 5th. In your 11th house, this is your location of your friendships. All right, this is when you get into groups. Taurus in the 11th house, this is where your Martian energy is going to be, and that is that January 5th date that I gave you. And Taurus energy is fixed Earth. Now, the fixed Earth is going to be creating a 90-degree square with your fixed air. Your fixed air is where your Jupiter and your Saturn went, okay? So let me back up for a little bit. When mid-December came around, Jupiter and Saturn moved into the sign of Aquarius. And this was in your significant, not just significant relationships, but these were your deeply bonded relationships. This is your 8th house energy. So you've got groups of friend energy in your 8th house. In other words, you can bond deeply with lots of people. Like, so when you meet people, right, you have the ability to zero in, to hone in, to focus, and to relate in a deeply emotional way. We like to call it the house of bonding. Some call it the house of sexual bonding. It doesn't have to be physical. It can definitely be emotional, right? You can be intimate with somebody without taking it to the physical level. A lot of times the 8th house is also family members that you're related to, and whether you're actually blood related or not, it can be the house of inheritances. This is that 8th house / Scorpio energy. Yes, you have Aquarius energy in the 8th house. And so the Aquarian energy is group energy, right? It's the same as Uranus energy. It's group energy. In your Taurus energy and your Aquarius energy, because they're both fixed, they square, right? And so when we get to the 6th and the 7th of January, there will be testing and stress and tension, okay? Because Mars is conjunct Uranus, the 6th of January. And what that will do is it will make somebody very impulsive, because Mars is all about what I want to do. I want to take action with things that I value, with friends that I value, okay? In my group actions, my humanitarian activity, because again, you have Taurus in your 11th house. So it's the people that you value, the group activities that you value, but they somehow have this altruistic vibe to them, right? These are things that are for the betterment of others, not necessarily just for you, right? And so you get like-minded people. It's kind of like with your tribe energy. Values, money, material values, the earth, being involved with the earth and feeling like, oh gosh, we care about the earth. Agriculture is a big deal, right? Having Mars there and saying, okay, I want to take action with something. And then it's conjunct Uranus. Uranus, first of all, it speeds things up, okay? So it can actually speed Mars up. Mars already is a very impulsive sign, all right? And being impulsive with something that you value, being impulsive with yourself and your own values, which means your like money, being impulsive with money. Once it, again, January 6th, January 7th, January 8th, depending upon how sensitive you are, it might even be a little bit before that. When those two planets, Mars and Uranus, get together, it's like you've got this gasoline and you light the torch to the gasoline, right? Two things, very combustible, very, very flammable, and they kind of take off and it's like this rocket in the sky, okay? This inclination to just want to do something and be free, because that is Uranian energy. It's all about freedom. It's all about not freedom just to be free, but freedom because I need to establish my sense of independence. It's more about that. It's not about I can't stand you, okay, or I have to get away from you. It's really this, I have to show you that I am an independent being. I can think for myself. I can speak for myself. I can act for myself. And so Uranus and Mars conjunct 6th, 7th, 8th of January, there may be this breaking away from some people that were considered friends. And it may be just a temporary break because Mars is very spontaneous and it moves very fast, as is Uranus. Okay, these two aren't going to stay together long. They're going to gloss, they're going to touch, and then Mars is going to keep going. Okay, so be aware of the words and the actions that you take around those dates, all right, and then that window of time, that you're not saying things that you might regret later on, simply because you were just trying to establish boundaries and borders to basically signify that you are an individual within this group and that you're not going to let somebody else's light cover yours. And again, it's over values, over your values. But it's really a group value, meaning it's something that you value and so do these other people in this group. So you just want to stay clear and level-headed because Mars is already, Mars is the fighter. Mars likes to fight. Mars is actually always looking for a fight because it's very antsy. It needs to be doing something. Mars needs to be physically challenged. That is the best way to handle Martian energy, is to just get out there and start digging holes, go out there and shovel the walk, go take a run. Like, that's Mars energy. It's very physical. So find a way to channel that energy in a very healthy way, in a way where you are not burning bridges. Because as January moves on, Mars will then square up, right? It'll square Jupiter, then it'll square Saturn. And what happens is this becomes stronger again around the 17th of January. So January 15th, 16th, 17th, again, all this depends on if you have some things in that placement in your chart at these degrees. And on that date, the degree for the 16th, 17th, and 18th, we're looking at, okay, Mars is at 5 degrees. So it's very much still conjunct Uranus, but at the same time, it is now squaring up more tightly with Saturn, window where Mars and Saturn and Uranus are all aspecting each other, which means they're all having conversations. And they are all kind of throwing squares with each other, and they're all piling up on each other, in which it's a concentration of energy. So again, I've got people who are like, okay, I'm just going to go in my bunker and come out in March. And I don't think it has to be that serious, but you know who you are, you know the friends you keep, you know the kind of places that you go and where you frequent. Just be smart. This is just a time where we're being smart. There can be some highly combative energies. So knowing in advance, you just want to realize that you yourself will have a tendency to be combative, but so will those around you, okay? So we're all going through it together. Now, there's good news for January as well. It doesn't just end there. January, even though Mars is going to square Jupiter. Now, Mars squaring Jupiter can be beneficial, can be very beneficial activity, actually. Can be very beneficial. Yeah, 17th, again, that's Mars squaring Jupiter. it doesn't have to be a bad thing, but what happens is that, again, Mars is going to be feeling like I need to do something. I want to do something. I want to do it when I want to do it. And Jupiter kind of adds to Mars' impulsivity. So again, Mars is still frustrated, still aggravated, still feels like it can't do what it wants to do when and where it wants to do it. And if it does get to do it when and where and how it wants to do it, it is still being told, but there's these certain rules, right? Wash the hands, put sanitizer on, have a mask on. You can't be within more than 6 feet of each other, right? Or maybe it might be 12 feet then at that time, we'll see what happens. But the expectation astrologically is, a lot of COVID-related difficulties, right? And pneumonia, okay? Respiratory difficulties, definitely respiratory difficulties. When we understand that there's a time of blessings, there's a time of goodness, there's a time of angel wings. We're going to have Venus trining Neptune. We're also going to have Jupiter and Saturn conjunct in Aquarius energy. And I'm having people reach out who are saying, when is the good coming? Is there any good coming? Is there any sort of direction and hope coming? And there is. Remember what I said about the individuality coming to the forefront and taking care of the individuals within the group. And this also includes our consciousness and our level of awareness, because we're going to have the galactic center, right? In that December eclipse, the galactic center is considered the point of source for the galaxy that we live in. And that means it's a very powerful placement. And we're going to have the sun on that. We're going to have this around the same time the solstice happens. And the solstice, let's not forget, this is a time when it's all about light over darkness. It's all about a new day dawning. It's all about the darkness dwindling and an increase in the light. And what we equate the light to is knowledge. It's knowledge over ignorance, knowledge over darkness, light over darkness, right? So there's beautiful things coming. It's a time of having faith. It's a time of prayer. It's a very powerful, powerful time for wishing and for praying. Hope and light over darkness. Yes, there will be rules because we need to have these rules to move forward. But yes, more than likely, I've been sharing this already. Good news coming by way of vaccine, by way of, okay, we think we have an answer as to how to control and maintain to stop the spread of the pandemic, the virus. We also will have stimulus money coming. There's all this good stuff, right? It's a balance. It's a mixed bag of both. And so for Cancer ascendant, Cancer rising, I love the fact that you are no longer going to be squared. For 2021, Jupiter and Saturn will no longer, actually they weren't squaring you, they were at your opposition, they were opposing you. And this was your ambitions and your goals and your work. And it was all opposing your home. So it was like this big tug of war that was happening. And what it did for all of us, and including you, was it intensified responsibilities. It intensified our material world responsibilities. And it was very heavy, very dense energy. And your Capricorn energy was in your relationships, your significant one-on-one relationships. And so what's going to happen is that for 2021, you still have Pluto in the sign of Capricorn, but Saturn has now moved. It's now away. It's now out of your 7th house and it's moving into your 8th house. So it's getting out of your significant one-on-one relationships. It's getting out of your marriages, right? It's getting out of your partnerships, which could be business partnerships. And so when those planets move, there should be an ease in relationships. There should be an ease in sitting down and having good relations with people where they're important to you and you have this new ability to compromise. And people come to you with a new ability to compromise and a willingness to work together, And having Capricorn in the 7th house, just so you know, okay, that setup in general means wherever anybody has Capricorn in their chart, it means this is an area of your life where you have to work a long time at achieving something. And because it's in the 7th house, that means you have to work a long time on significant one-on-one relationships before you feel like, okay, I did it. I finally got this, or I finally found somebody to marry, right? Because that's typically the house of marriage. Again, it can be business partnerships, all right? Capricorn asks us, because its ruler is Saturn, it asks us to do the work by piecemeal. and it does not allow any shortcuts. So there's no shortcomings on your part. There's no blame on your part. This was the setup. This is how you were born. These were the frequencies you came in with. So have a little bit more self-understanding and self-love in case you're somebody who's had additional planets there natally, which would make it even more intense for you and give you more greater understanding as to, oh my God, why is this taking so long? Why can't I just find somebody? Am I ever going to get married? Like there's a few people I have who comment all the time about that. When is my partner coming? Will I ever be married? Right? So Capricorn in the 7th house or Saturn in the 7th house, regardless of what your rising sign is, it delays marriage. It delays finding that partner. It just does. And so for 2021, that's great news. And so also for 2021, what's going to happen is your houses of relationships, of significant relationships and one-on-ones, of communications and talking and relating, Jupiter and Saturn are trining all of this for you. Trining, which means they're adding great ease to these placements for you. Now, this is going to be your 4th house at home. So this is your home energy, which is also your internal world, right? Your psychology. So your home life, your significant relationships at home are going to be easier. You're also going to have ease when it comes to, those deeply bonded relationships. And you're also going to have ease when it comes to your subconscious thoughts, subconscious self-talk. There may be ways that you speak to people. Like you may speak out of both sides of your mouth. One minute you may say this, next minute you may say this, and you might not be aware of that. All that's going to change for you because Saturn and Jupiter are going to trine all of that. And you have Jupiter doing this for all of 2021. A year from now, you're going to be a different person because your thinking is going to change. Your thoughts are going to change. And when your thoughts change, your words change. And when all that changes, what you get in your life, what you bring in completely changes. And then Saturn is also going to be trining for the next 2.5 years, these same areas of your life. You'll have Saturn trining, meaning adding ease to those areas of your life. Okay, these are spiritual houses, by the way, deeply spiritual houses, house number 4, number 8, and number 12. So it may increase your activity with talking to dead loved ones, with talking to spirit guides, with communicating with God, Allah, Creator, whatever deity is for you. This will increase the ease of communication for you. Meaning, some people are like, I'm so confused. I don't know if this is me. I don't know if this is mine or divine. And answering a question that someone just asked me the other day, is it mine or divine? That relates to the information that comes through. It doesn't relate to the material world, okay? It's not a tangible thing when I say that. I'm talking to information and getting message work that comes through, and then am I coloring it, right? Because we all have an aura, we all have thoughts, we all have emotions, and it colors information that comes through, right? It colors it. It takes it and it puts its own seasoning on it, so to speak, right? Like somebody made something to eat, they fix you a plate, and then what do? You go to the cabinet, you grab the hot sauce, you go to the cabinet, you're grabbing the hot pepper, or you're grabbing the ketchup, or you're grabbing the barbecue sauce. Even though somebody else made it, somebody else delivered something to you, you have the ability to add your own stuff to it. And that's the difference of being able to say, okay, is this divine? And then I've sprinkled it and added my own essence to it. And once I've added my own essence to it, it's not so pure anymore because I've colored it, right? I've added me to it. And it's being able to decipher the difference and to see when you've added your own sense of your beliefs to something and learning how to separate those. And that takes a bit of time. It is not a quick journey. It takes a lot of troubleshooting, a lot of gauging and journaling and keeping track. You have to be you gotta be like a scientist. You gotta look for confirmation. Anyway, it's a whole nother video we can do, but there's an increase of that. There's a very high possibility of this being an increase of getting information and downloads and them being more clear than before. And if you were hearing nothing before, then that activity can begin for you and you can start that journey. It's not a quick journey. This is a lifetime. This is a journey that takes years of living and experiencing and relating. So I love how your 2021 is looking, and I would love to get feedback from you. I would love to hear from you. Just know that we are all in this together. We are all elevating intellectually and seeing Saturn in air, because air represents thought. It represents the way we think. It represents the way we relate. So we will relate in ways that are for the good. This lingo, this song, this ditty keeps going, these words keep going through my head, and it's goodwill to mankind, peace on earth, and goodwill for all of us. God bless us, everyone.